Hello, hello. Okay, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is look at where you were, what you did with the majority of your time there, an important day with the relationships and feelings involved, another important day with relations and feelings, the death and lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout. All right, so all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through. So I'll try to help how I can with those connections, but just keep in mind there's a couple of ways to make connections. You can directly connect with what comes through, or you can connect in a way where it's opposite. So if we see someone experiencing something in a past life or a different time, a lot of times our soul wants to experience something completely different, so it might come back as kind of like the opposite effect. Like if you died from smoking, you might come back and be allergic to smoke, that kind of thing. All right, so right away what I can tell you is that we're looking at a male aspect here, but the male aspect here has energy running through him that is very creative, in the sense that we would correlate it with like a feminine creativity. There's a softness running through this energy, but there's something about the look of this person, this aspect, that is completely masculine, so that nobody would suspect of that soft energy running through. And there's also something about that softness being perceived as a weakness rather than a creative force. So how you might connect with this could be, one, if you find yourself highly creative, or two, the opposite would be if you find that there is a lack of creativity in your life, and maybe you're even wondering, how do I become creative? How do I get the creative juices flowing? And it feels like there is something about the idea of, again, like something being seen as something that it's not. So even just saying a soft energy running through, I don't usually use that word soft energy, and it's not weak. So we're looking at a play of words in the sense of like how you might define certain things that might be actually limiting you from expressing yourself in a way you want to express. And it could be identity, it could be creativity, it could be a number of things. But this, if you're connecting with this, it would be a message for you to kind of do a little bit of a check-in with yourself to see what you might be defining as one thing is not that. Rather, it's learned. Like you, like here, it's like there's like a belief that a man with feminine energy, or a man with apparent feminine energy, equals weak. But that's only because society has come up with that, you know, like as a whole. But in truth, it would be a strength, because to be balanced in both masculine and femininity, those energies, is strong. It's balance, it's in tune, it's alignment, it's everything you want. So I feel like there might be something that you might be, if you are judging something about yourself for having or not having about yourself, like an energy about yourself, something about yourself, you may be judging yourself according to standards that you did not create, others' standards. So this would just be a call for you to make sure that you are not on a path where you are basically allowing others to pave the way for you, if that makes sense. Not like do hard work for you. What I'm saying is like the path as far as like how you perceive yourself, make sure that you are perceiving yourself according to how you feel about what you are doing in the moment. So if you are, well, it's like this aspect here. If he openly, it's like he didn't openly portray his feminine creative streak. He kept it very hush hush. It felt like it feels like we're actually going to skip this card for right now and go here. This is what he did with the majority of his time. This is the art card. Art. It feels like he drew people. It felt like he was an artist, even a sculptor or painter, with just a fine artist. But it's almost like he hired people to come in so he could draw them or use that, you know what I mean, use their look, their aesthetic for inspiration. And it was very secret, almost like he paid them off well to keep it hush hush, because on the outside it felt like there was something about him that was completely just like masculine. It's almost like when you hear of like a real like beefy looking like athlete football player, turns out that he has something that we would consider feminine about him. Like he lets the cat out of the bag. There's a secret about, and we're like, whoa, I would never have thought that about him because wow, look at how he looks and look at what he does for a living, right? That kind of thing. So we could also be looking at something about you that you consider a secret about yourself that you don't share with many or at all with anyone, because you might judge it, but it's only being judged not by you but by others' standards that you have incorporated into your belief system that make you feel or think that it isn't a positive attribute. And if that is the case, so if something's coming to mind right now for you, that would be it. If nothing's coming to mind, whatever you don't connect with right away, you just want to tuck in the back of your mind for a later time so you can revisit it, because days, weeks, months, year later, things come up that click from these readings. So just keep that in mind. But if you are connecting with this, the message would simply be to start to rewrite those standards and start looking at yourself and judging yourself solely by your own considerations. I feel like that's really the message we're getting from how we're starting this out. Okay. So where we're going, this is the Americas card, and this can be South, Central, or North America. And this feels very much like I'm drawn to somewhere very cold in South America, where there is something. So the imagery is these like mountain peaks, and they're not soft mountains, it's like mountain peaks, like rock, like sharp mountains, and there's snow. And it's, I want to say, if we're going to South America, what they're like, if you look at a map and you go down past the halfway point and to the right, so I guess that's the East Coast, you want to go southeast in South America, and I feel like it would be a region that's known to be very cold. I don't know if I think it gets cold in South America. So look that, I don't know what you'll find over there, but look up and see what's in the southeast. And I want to say very southeast, like definitely further than the halfway point of the continent, like definitely, like even I want to say 3/4 of the way down at least. And check that out. And what you want to do is you want to look at, if you haven't been there already, or you haven't, like, one, you can have a connection already and know, oh yes, I do like South America, I've been drawn there, I want to vacation there, or oh yeah, I have been drawn to the southeastern part of South America, like maybe you already know what countries are there, kind of deal. But if not, then you want to pull up photos of the land, and particularly if there are mountains there, and if you can pull up images of mountains first of all, and if there are mountains, pull it up in the winter or their winter when it gets cold, and see if there's like snowy stuff, and then see how you feel when you look at it. I'm just talking about connecting with the land and seeing how you feel about this place. Just like any kind of emotional little zing of any kind, you know what I mean? It could feel comforting, it could feel familiar, it could feel like home, it could feel just emotional, just like you get a thing in your heart and you're like, whatever it is. See how it makes you feel to look at that place if you haven't been there already, or don't know about it already. It's almost like I want to say, like, I don't usually get like words, but if Patagonia is in that place, that's where I feel like it's around there. So if there's any connection you can make with that, or if there's something, or is Paraguay down there? It's like a Patapara, I think, because I know there's like a Patagonia company, so I think that's a country down there. But anyways, see how you connect with that. Now, what else is coming through is the idea of a pilot. So I feel like we're actually looking at someone whose job, well, because there's something very fun about piloting as well. So this could be the job, but also because it is a passion as well. And I almost feel, yeah, so we're looking at someone who's a pilot. So this can mean a couple things for you. How you can connect, for example, would be, one, if you like flying, love the heights of it, the seeing out from the sky. If you're someone that, as far as like a natural thing in the world, like the environment. If you're someone that's a sky person or a cloud person, like that's your gig. Like, you know, some people love trees and some people like rocks and grass, blah, blah, you know, like people have their favorite things. If yours is like sky, clouds, that kind of thing, that would be a connection. The opposite would be if you're scared of heights and you're scared of flying. If you have any fears of flying or heights, it would come from this. That would be the opposite connection. But we're also looking at a pilot here, so we're looking at someone who is fusing their intellect with their, I want to say there's something athletic about flying. Okay, so to keep up this like macho look, I feel like this aspect we're looking at was in the Army and he was in the Air Force. Wherever we're looking at it, he was part of the Air Force, and it feels like he got all of his training there, and that's how he started. And then once he was out of the Army, he kept flying. So there's something very strategic, intellectual, and what's the word, athletic about this, because how he started piloting feels like it was somewhat competitive, at least with himself, to learn it in time and for purpose. So it's like athletes, like you're learning something because you got to get ready, you have to practice, get ready for the game, and the purpose is to defeat the other team. So it feels like learning to pilot, this aspect of you had to learn it in order to get it ready to go into, you know, sky battle or whatever. And the purpose was to defeat the enemy. So it feels like there was purpose behind. So that's where I feel like we're bringing in athleticism, and almost like, so how you might connect with this would be how you feel also about like athleticism and competition. You might be someone that's like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't need it. I'm good. Or the direct connection here would be that if you are someone who is strategic and athletic and competitive, that would also come from here as well. But it would be competition for a purpose. You might be someone that really loves to see achievement in your life marked. And when I say that, I mean marked by trophies, awards, being honored, you know, certain things that can show others, look what I have done. Look at my achievements. And that's not a bad thing. So that's where I feel like the piloting begins here, but then he turns it into what he does for a living. So he took something that he utilized in his youth and he turned it into something that he can enjoy as he's older, because the thing he actually truly is passionate about, which I feel like is the art, he can't do on a higher level, or he can't do and be recognized for it. I even want to say the art is so magnificent that even today, we would, if you were to look up like art paintings or whatever by a South American artist, like almost like I want to say like nudes or like body, you know, people, whatever, like that kind of thing. Even like, I don't know, but like if you were to look it up today and find that, and it would be by an anonymous person or by an artist who they say is not who they say they is, like they are like, this is done by, you know, blah blah blah, but really no one knows his real name because he didn't want to let it known, or it was like, you know what I mean, like it was that kind of thing. But I feel like the pieces were like kept, like these are like masterpieces potentially. That's really interesting. So there might be an untapped mastery within you with your creativity, and that could feel blocked if you do feel blocked, because this aspect blocked his identity from the world as having this ability, because it feels like who he surrounded himself with, or at least the regional society of the time, would not look well upon someone like him showing the pieces that he made. Okay, so there's that. How you might connect with piloting, keep making connections with that, flying. Oh, it could be if you're looking for a new hobby, you might want to look into getting a pilot's license if you're not scared of heights or something like that. But then again, if you're scared of heights, that might be the way to overcome it, is by facing that fear with an achievement, or with like something where you're gaining something like a license to fly. Like that's a big deal, you know, that's not small. So you might already love to fly, who knows, but that would definitely that's coming up for whatever reason, however you can connect with the flying. All right, so let's go to the first important day. I'm trying to see if there's anything else about the art card. If you do want to pick up a new hobby, by the way, if you're thinking of it or you're feeling stagnant, I would just like try to pick up art of some kind that you're drawn to. It could be painting or sculpting or drawing, or there's so much. There's so much, you know, like don't limit yourself, just go where you're drawn. I want to say that's how you'll know when you're not blocked, is when you're able to just flow with where you are pulled to and what excites you as far as like an activity or a hobby. So keep that in mind. Now, first important day here, this is the Mother Nature card, and this usually indicates like a natural disaster of some kind. It can also be Mother Nature, like stuff occurring in the body as well. This is the Child card, and this is kind of like the lonely card. This immediately, what it feels like is that it feels like you got someone pregnant and they're keeping the child from you. And I almost want to say they're using the child as bait to get money out of you and to keep you emotionally tied to them. And they're doing this because it's like there's something about you, even like I want to say maybe a rumor here, that you're like a ladies' man, or even just how you look might give people the impression that you're what they call like a player. You know, like it would give the like very good looking, so people would automatically make assumptions about that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he must have lots of ladies. He must have lots of this and the you know, like he's not gonna set like the George Clooney of Patagonia. You know, that's kind of the feel here, even though it doesn't feel like it's to that extent. It feels like you do indulge in like pleasure, but that's just like a human thing. You're not married, that kind of thing. So it feels like this person is trying to beat you at your game kind of thing, like dangling the carrot, because there's something about, I want to say that you've always wanted children, and this was an accident, and obviously like you didn't prepare for it or plan for it, but you know you always wanted children eventually, and here we have it. So the lonely card's coming in because it feels like, one, you're not able to fully connect with the child because of how it's kind of like, you give me money and I'll come and you can spend 5 minutes with the kid, like that kind of thing. Let me see. So how you might connect with this could be how you feel about having children. You either, one, might want children, or two, if you have children, you might be very possessive or protective over them. It might even be the kind of thing where you want to be your kid's favorite. Like that kind of thing, like who do you love more, mommy or daddy, like that kind of thing. And if not, that's fine. You know, it doesn't matter if you make connections or not. It's just what could possibly be coming through here. And the other thing would be if you don't want kids, and that would be because of the, I want to say, the hardship that you were kind of brought through when you did have a kid here. Like you wanted them, and then this happened, and it's like, whoa, this is so not worth the emotional, you know, BS I have to go through in order just to see my kid for 5 minutes, to be an upstanding, you know, to be like the best dad I can be based on what she's, you know. And it feels like she has like her family is very well known, so that's why there's like, you can't just come in and, you know, like demand anything, because it feels like she has money and resources and the upper hand essentially. So, so this might actually, if you have ever had distrust in women that you've dated, or women in general in the past, for like no real reason, but just like a distrust, almost like maybe you once thought, or you might still do, but you know, you might have thought that that women have alternative motives or things like that, where you're like, I don't know why I feel this way, I just do. Maybe it's just society making me feel this way, but it would stem from here as well if you had those thoughts. On the other hand, you could have come back into this life in order to try your best to understand women and where they're coming from, because it felt like she wasn't just doing this to be a bad person. She was like really scared because she was pregnant and had a kid and she wasn't married, and like, so there's a lot of fear based in that, but this aspect of you didn't really pay attention to the fear on her part because you were so busy feeling crappy about your part, which is very human. So we're just looking in your current life, a theme of like how you connect with how you feel about, I guess, like women in the realm of, not dating, but like maneuvering the dating scene in order to climb up to, like the whole process where a lot of women like to date and then get engaged and then get married and then have kids, and that, you know, that whole process that, like, I guess people in general kind of, that's the norm, the standard. Just how you connect with that, it can either make you uneasy, or you might actually really thrive with the idea of the standard process, because this was not standard here. This was like a surprise, which means you might not like surprises. So if you're someone that does not like surprises, this would be why, because there is a surprise, baby. So yeah, so just keep connecting however you can with this card, because the Mother Nature card here, it refers to having a child, like pregnancy, like that's all, you know, Mother Nature right there, like literally. Yeah, so okay, so keep connecting how you can here. I feel like that's pretty much talked through, and we'll go to the next important day. Okay, so here we have the trauma card for the next important day. Trauma is we're witnessing a trauma, going through a trauma. Yeah, usually it's a soul contract, like you've made a contract to undergo a certain kind of trauma in your life because you're to learn from it, and that's everything. We have so many soul contracts where it's like we go through so much stuff and we're just like, why is this happening? It's like, well, you kind of like made it part of your path that you're on right now, so you can learn from it. But here's the soul group card, and this is the joy card. So I feel like what we're looking at here, first of all, it feels like a plane crash. And I'm trying to see if it's your plane crash or if you're hearing of a plane crash. Okay, so what this feels like is you get word that I want to say like old buddies from the army or old buddies from your past here. Either one they crashed their plane, or they are losing control of the plane, and they had to like do a landing where they lost touch with the command center, is what it feels like it's coming through. And you get word of it, and it feels like you go to, like, it's like in your area, and it feels like you go and you take off to go search for them. And the soul group card comes in because these are your people. These are like these people are part of your life. Even if you haven't talked to them in a long time, they're still like your brothers. I want to say like your brothers, like family. So in your current life, you might connect with people who are not your blood family as though they are family. Like blood isn't thicker than water. Like you realize I can make my friends my family, especially if they treat me better than a lot of my family does. So just know that these people, the soul group here, it's very possible you're seeing at least one or two, you know, or all of them again in this lifetime, because soul groupers tend to like, or I should say soul groupies, tend to like reincarnate with each other lifetime after lifetime. And it's not like they all meet up at the same time always. Some do come in like a group, but others you just kind of pick up along the way until the group is formed and you realize like, oh, I feel like I've known these people forever. And so if anyone comes to mind right now that you feel like, oh, I feel like I know them forever, even like when we first met kind of thing, that would probably be someone from this life. And it would also be the kind of person, honestly, that either one helps you out a lot or has helped you in a big way, or that you have helped a lot or helped in a big way. Or it could be that you're just helping each other back and forth a lot with things, because here you went to go save their lives and help them. And so we see that in the ways I just said, because when you come back into another life, it's almost like, hey, let me return the favor. Oftentimes it's that. So if there's someone, or even like it could be brothers that you know, or a group of people, or a few people, whatever it is, where you find that you guys are kind of just helping each other out all the time. Or it could just be where you've helped them or they've helped you in like a big way, whether it's physical help or financial, whatever it might be, and there wasn't any weirdness or awkwardness in the exchange of help, almost like, well, of course they're helping me, of course I'll help you, like that kind of thing, like it's very natural. If someone's coming to mind or people are coming to mind, that's them, these people. And it feels like you go and you find them. It feels like there's a lot of injuries, but it doesn't feel like anyone has died, because it feels like there's something about them that they know about survival technique in the wilderness, which, by the way, if you connect with that, it would come from, I feel like, what you learned here in the Army would be surviving in the wilderness. So if you have any wilderness survival, what's the word, techniques, or like you're good at that, or if it's just even interesting to you, it feels like it would come from here. So the trauma is really about like the injuries to them, but also the kind of a bit of a startled anxiousness that happens when you hear about it. So the joy card comes in because you find them, and everyone turns out, in the end, everyone is saved and safe. And yeah, so it's like everything turned out a-okay, and I feel like that's coming through just in case you are going through something right now where you feel maybe lost or in transition or unstable, or maybe you feel like you're out in the wilderness and maybe you feel like, where is my path, like that kind of thing. Everything's going to be fine if you don't give in to the anxiety, but rather stabilize and ground yourself with what you already know about yourself. Even if it's the smallest thing, it can help, like an affirmation, like, you know, even if it's just saying your name to yourself, like, I am, like, you know, like that kind of thing, like, or you know, saying things that you like about yourself, saying things, if you just do that, it's going to ground you, because it's something you know that you're not confused about, or that you're not anxious about. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that's a little formula for you. If you ever feel, again, unstable, in transition, a little lost, don't know what the next step is, start, even if you talk out loud, say to yourself things you already know or certain about yourself, even the most basic, simple things, and that will ground you and bring you into the present moment. And then things will open up for you there, moving forward, okay? All right, so keep making connections where you can when it comes to this. Yes. And we're going to go ahead and move to the death card. The death card here is disease and illness card. So I'm just seeing what's coming through here. What's going on? Okay. Okay. So there's something about, that's interesting. There's something about like pneumonia. Because there's something about the nose. They're like showing me a very like red nose and like hard of breathing, hard to breathe, just a discomfort in the chest and upwards. And it's almost like, I want to say, you, as you got older, you didn't take care of yourself according to your age. You just always felt young. So you were like, oh, I can brave the cold weather. I can walk outside. It's fine. I grew up in this. This is where, you know, like that kind of thing, without taking precautions that you should take as you age. And it's like almost like the feeling of feeling invincible, which I think is very normal to feel that way when everything is fine and dandy. But it feels like that's just not the case, and it feels like you came down with something, I want to say, like pneumonia, and I feel like it left you very, like, weak. I feel like it just left you so weak, and I feel like from this weakness, your lifespan shortened, and you just, I feel like you never recovered from it. So it's not like you died of pneumonia. It's like pneumonia kicked your butt and then you didn't recover for it. So the quality of life from there on out was kind of like a half-life. Like you didn't have the strength to, I feel like you couldn't fly anymore. That kind of thing, because you couldn't stay awake. It feels like there's chronic fatigue and weakness, and like you didn't, and it's like you didn't put the effort forward for like physical rehab in some way. Like I want to say like you could have somewhat recovered muscle or whatever it was, but you just like let it go because you just kind of fell into a depression from it because you'd never known such physical weakness, and you let it get the better of you. So any connection to this would be if you used to, like as a kid or whatever, because usually these things happen when we're young, but get like every winter get sick, you know, if you had a low immune system, and you still could kind of thing, like if that's still occurring, but usually this is happening in the youth. These things carry over to when we're young. So yeah, I mean, if it's just getting the common cold, just your immune system, and if you've had any asthma or breathing problems in your life, that would be a connection, as well as chronic fatigue. So if you get tired easily, another connection would be if you have ever felt or feel the need to build muscle or to work out your muscles, like to build strength for like, not for any reason, just like I need to be strong, I need to be strong. Like if you have a fear of not being strong or physically like able to do everything you want to do, that kind of thing. Or if you have like a thing about being weak, if that's a soft spot for you, like if that's a what do you call it, like a pet peeve is the idea of like being weak. Yeah, so that's really interesting because it almost brings us back around to the beginning where I was talking about having a soft energy being perceived as weak, and then here we're talking about having a pet peeve of being weak or being seen as weak because this body gave out at the end. It like became physically weak, even though you were intellectually, mentally, emotionally, you know, strong. Let me see. I want to say that this occurred around the age of about 60. That's what it feels like. But let's see. I feel like there's something else here. Oh, okay, yeah. It's also like a little message of like, hey, don't like ignore any signs coming up in your life that, if you know, like physical signs, like as we all, every human being, as we all age and we all hit certain age points in our lives, you know, things change. Things change. We just need more monitoring, I guess, you know what I mean? Like you need to, you know, change things up sometimes as we get older. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself and that you're not ignoring signs by brushing it off as though you're still, you know, 20 kind of thing. I'm not saying anything bad's happening at all, but it's just more like, hey, let's just not like brush off something that, you know, you might go and have an easy fix if you look at it now versus 20 years later when you wish you would have looked at it 20 years ago, if that makes sense. So just that kind of thing. But keep making connections where you can with that. And we're going to go ahead and go to the lesson here. Lesson here is simplicity. And this, I feel like it's first of all, we're referring to the simple pleasures of tapping into your creative self and how you don't need anything but yourself to be creative. That's all you need is your mind and your heart, you know what I mean? And so I feel like there's something about making sure that you don't get caught up on things that are outside of you so much. Like, almost like I want to say, you don't need what you think you need outside from outside of you, because there are resources inside of you that it's almost like you just need to find the pathway to tap into it, if that makes sense. Almost like I want to say, if you want to experience, oh, okay. So what they're giving me, for example, an example is the idea of, so some people take, what is it called? Like psychotropic drugs or something, right? So some people will take certain drugs or drink or whatever to feel a certain kind of mentality, right? To feel like a certain kind of like higher mentality. But then again, there are people who can train anyone to breathe, just simply breathe a certain way and get the same effects that these people over here are getting by taking certain drugs. But really, you don't even need the drugs because you can just learn to breathe a certain way. And it's all part of who you are without needing external stuff, if that makes sense. I feel like that's a really good example that they're throwing out at me to give you for that kind of thing. So it's almost like, yeah, however you can connect with that, things might be more simple for you, like simplify things. You have resources that you might not, one, be aware of, or two, know how to get to, but you have them. Almost like here, it's like it's almost like how he hid his stuff away from others might have translated into your current life of you hiding things from yourself, like not knowing things about yourself that you might truly enjoy about yourself. If you, I feel like, unblock, again, like societal standards or whatever, whatever programming you have, I feel like there might be something there where if you just like scooch that away, it will reveal something about yourself that you can take, I feel like, real true like joy in, like fun joy in. Yes, and then there's something else. Oh, simplicity also applies to the idea of like the friendships being so important here, like people. Like this is all being like simplified down, like simmered down to what's inside of you, and then what's important are the people you surround yourself with and the people that make you feel good about yourself. These buddies here, like, or in your current life, whoever you surround yourself with, make sure that they are the people that make you feel good about yourself and also make you want to express who you are, your authentic self inside. Where he couldn't, you want to surround yourself with people who will bring that out and encourage you to bring it out within yourself, whatever it is that you might otherwise not show or express if other people were around you who were discouraging or judgmental. So just make sure that you are not surrounding yourself with toxic people and that you are surrounding yourself with people who are not judging you, so that you don't further judge yourself, if that makes sense. I feel like judgment is the killer. That's what you want to stay away from. All right? As far as time goes, this feels like we're in the 20th century. I feel like I'm trying to, this could be maybe like a lifetime or two ago, because some lifetimes, it's like a blip of an eye, like you can be born and then die at birth, you never know, but it feels like it wasn't too long ago. It's modern. There was a war, and we're looking at South America, so I think you will probably find the period of time, if you can find where they were involved in a war and airplanes were involved. So just check that out and see what you can find and see how you connect with that era and even that war, even that, that specific time period as well. So yeah. So anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections at least, and thanks for letting me read you.